Is your business running on autopilot? Today, we're going to talk about amazing ways that you can use automations to get rid of a lot of the repetitive tasks in your business so that you can really focus on growth. So today we have an amazing guest. Her name is Jenny Knowland, and she is the CEO of Dunzo, which is an automations company. And she has been in the home service space for about 6 years now. She's also known as the automations queen. And so I am so excited to invite Jenny to the show. Hi, Jenny. How are you?
Hi, I'm good. How are you?
Good. Super excited to talk to you about automations because I think that in today, we just need to know how to use more automations. We need to know how to streamline processes in order to really get ahead of the competition and to have a successful business. So when did you realize, let's talk about when did you realize that you liked automations? How did you get into it and just start to learn all of these things?
I got in as an admin over at Concur, and there was no systems in place at Concur when I started there. It was like month 3 or so when I started of like Concur becoming a thing. And there was no CRM, nothing. And it was just me and Brandon at the time before he hired on other people. And we needed to find ways to like maximize my time. So we had someone come in and they built out some automations. It was really cool to learn. I love like challenging myself and figuring out ways to make my life easier and other people on my team more efficient. So that's kind of how it started. And then we had the base and then we kind of built it up from there. And then we saw like, I was getting requests from people like, hey, like, can I learn more about Zapier? And then we kind of found a need for creating automations and helping people create automations in the home service space as well. And then of course I do automations in my own life as well. And thinking of ways to keep my personal life a little automated as well.
Yeah, we'll probably dive into that later. So if you think of any hacks on how you can like automate your life, your personal life, like pin those because we probably want to dive into those. But do you run into some resistance when it comes to home service industry, especially maybe business owners who have been in business for a long time and are just really set on their old processes? Do you see some common like hurdles or obstacles, even mental barriers when it comes to trying to convince them to use automations and more technology?
Yeah, I think the main thing is like they want to be so hands-on with it, which I think there's a healthy balance between automations and then your team still being involved. Because if it's too automated, you've almost done the opposite where people don't want to respond to you because they don't feel like they need to. There's not a person on the other side that they're rejecting or anything like that. But then there's the other part where everything's manual and your team's forgetting to do it. So showing clients that there's a healthy balance, like you can still have automations and make it still feel personal. And I think that helps a lot with that mental barrier of like, I don't want to feel like they're talking with a robot. I think if you can create a happy balance between the manual processes that your team can be involved in and then the automations that don't really need a person behind it, I think that helps a lot with building on that. And then you can start small too. So if you're like, oh, I don't really want to do this, start small with, a automated message when they fill out a form. That's an automation right there, right?
Yeah, I think constantly thinking of things that you can take out of the manual processes, like you said, you have to be able to embrace technology and everything that's happening in modern society and AI and just everything, or you quickly get left behind. And so I feel like, especially in home services, it's probably one of the industries that might get touched last as like other than other companies that might be more just office processes. You're dealing with a lot of manual labor and a lot of human interaction with technicians and things like that. So finding all the different ways to implement automations is key.
Yeah.
What are some of the results that you've seen with your clients in general at Dunzo? Just any examples of big changes in business processes and how companies have been able to grow more and actually maybe spend a little less in expenses because you don't need as much manpower to do a lot of these processes anymore.
Yeah. So they'll still have to have an admin, most likely on there. But I would say the biggest thing is one, making sure your team is doing those follow-ups. And we've seen an increased closing rate for most of our customers, at least the ones that have been tracking it. We've gotten quite a few newer businesses. So that's been really cool to kind of see like them starting out the gate with automations versus being a business that's been established for a while and then getting the automations. So that's been kind of cool. And it helps with those smaller businesses as well when it is just them and maybe their wife or one other person, and they can't focus on the sales, and being able to see those companies close without having to, maybe they didn't close right on the spot and then they close later on. They weren't really involved in that process. The automations did it for them. So that was really cool to see. As far as like not spending any money, I think this obviously doesn't apply to new businesses, but for like some of our cleaning companies or ones that have recurring services, not forgetting about customers that we've done work for before and doing like a re-engagement campaign has been really powerful for a lot of our customers and gets them a lot of really quick wins. And you can do something simple. I've seen people who've, a tactic that, Brandon did at All Clean was talk about, oh, hey, we're hiring. And then, did a blast out to his customers, and we'd get some work from that hiring one because they're like, oh yeah, well, my nephew would be good, but also I need my windows cleaned.
Right.
But then you can be more direct as a re-engagement campaign and, either reminding them, hey, it's been a year since we've done work for you, offering some sort of, early season promotion, mentioning that your prices are going up. So locking in your pricing right now. There's a lot of tactics you can do, but it doesn't really cost money. If you use a platform that charges you for text, there's maybe some small costs there, but you're not having to, spend money on paid advertising. So that's been really cool to see, is people winning leads from just doing a simple little text blast and generating revenue that way. Didn't cost them any money because we don't charge for text in our platform. So it doesn't cost them any money, and they're getting thousands of dollars worth of work from a simple little re-engagement text campaign or email campaign.
And so I've seen some amazing things that you've done. And I also want to go into like reputation management. How important is a good reputation online? Obviously, we know it's important, but I still see home service businesses in some of the pages that I'm in that seem to not really care.
Mm-hmm.
And so talk to us a little bit about what that looks like as far as automations when it comes to reputation management or getting reviews.
As a consumer looking in, like you own a business now, so like if a business asks you to leave a review, you're probably more likely to do it because you're like, oh, I know I would want that for my own.
Yeah, I actively seek out ways to leave people reviews now. Like, how many have I left this week? Yeah.
Yes. But I think, not being afraid to ask is really important, because if they loved your service, I don't think anyone would say no to that, especially positioning it from like, hey, we're a small family-owned business. It actually helps us a lot if you just go in and leave a review. So if you're responding to all the good and the bad ones, you don't look defensive. So making sure to always respond to your reviews, no matter what, even if it's just like, thank you so much, whoever they are. It can just be something simple from there. But also, allowing people to leave reviews in other areas. So being able to send them links for not only Google, but maybe Facebook, Yelp, if there's other places, because you have to have a Google account to leave a Google review. So if you have some older people who don't have Google accounts, they have Yahoo or Hotmail or, these other ones that they've had for years, they are not willing to get a Google account. And I've seen that message a couple of times, like, oh, you guys were great, but I don't have a Google account. So giving them other options for Facebook or Yelp to leave a review is also really important. But we ask 3 times for a review. We don't do any more or any less. And we allow some gaps in between. So we're not doing back to back. It's usually like a day or 2 in between each ask.
Right. Yeah. And I think because I had Michelle here at Jill's office help me with some of my automations, because I do use High Level also, and she had built in like ChatGPT to respond to all of our reviews. Not all of them, because if we had anything like 4 and below or something, it wouldn't reply that, but it does reply to almost all of them. I think sometimes clients or customers might be leaving a review under a different profile. And so it seems to not reply to all of them. So I'll go in and reply, but we make sure to reply to every single one, like you said, even if they just leave stars and no words, like just thanking them. Yeah. Because when I look at reviews, I do tend to look at the first couple that pop up, and then I always hit lowest to highest just to see what people are saying, but mostly to see how the business owner's responding to those, if they're responding at all. And I actually like more when it's very short, just we apologize that you didn't receive, the service that you were hoping for. Thank you for the feedback. And that's what I like the most. I don't like getting into the defensiveness. Does definitely turn me off into working with a company. And so I think if you're growing and you're doing really well, getting tons of clients and doing tons of sales, you're going to get some reviews that are not 5 stars. And so I think that's just natural, but to watch for like patterns of it happening consistently where it starts to just really ruin everything, that's what you need to look out for. And then one last thing I wanted to talk about too was because I work primarily in the hiring space and in HR, I would love to hear kind of your ideas on how to use automations for hiring, especially for a home service company. Like we always talk about in home services, I have a residential cleaning company, and you want to keep a really good pool of candidates constantly flowing in rather than waiting till somebody leaves last minute and then you're scrambling and have to cancel a bunch of jobs. And so what have you seen, or what can you recommend as far as like automations for that?
Yeah. So the first one, and I use this in my own business as well, because we hire a lot of VAs, as I'm sure a lot of home service companies do, or they, maybe they don't hire as many as we do, but they hire some VAs. I create automations, and in my interview, like before they even get to the interview, I mean, in my application process, I create like non-negotiable questions. So like if they answer questions a certain way, I automatically know to reject them. And I have an automation in place that like sends them to the rejection phase right away. And I usually wait like an hour. So that way it seems like someone reviewed and they're not like, I filled this out 5 minutes ago. You already rejected me.
Right.
But the same thing goes for US based applicants as well. Like I create non-negotiables. So, do you have a reliable transportation? If you say no, you're probably going to automatically reject them because they might have excuses for not showing up on time, or, you can kind of create some easy yes or no questions to do in that case. And then the other one is like for the pool of applicants. So same thing, we have people we've done interviews for, and we're like in between, 2 different people. And we hire one, and then the other one doesn't, that one doesn't work out. So we're ready to hire on the other one. We do like nurture type sequences. So similar like you would with a lead, we just say like, hey, we really liked you a lot. Maybe we've paused hiring on this, or, we're not ready to move forward with the position yet, but we'll keep you in mind. It can be kind of frustrating, especially in this, market that we're in with hiring, because I've seen the other side of it, people complaining about, oh, I went through this whole interview process and I didn't get hired, and they don't understand it from a business owner's perspective. So just kind of thinking about them when you send them that email is like, hey, I know it's tough right now. We really liked you a lot. We're just not in a place to, we're putting this on hold, or we've paused hiring right now. We have some things to figure out, whatever that may be. You can word it that way, and then you can nurture them. And then once you're ready to fill that position, you just go through your list of saying like, hey, we'd like to get one more interview scheduled if you are still looking for a job. And you can do some automations there as well.
Oh yeah, especially if you're using a platform like Indeed. I know that with Indeed for Virgil's office, sometimes we can get hundreds of applicants, and a lot of times they're just clicking apply. They get a notification that there's a new job posting, and so even with my cleaning company, I've realized that as well. And so we have built in some automations to automatically reject. Like if they can't travel 100% of the time, it will automatically reject them because they do have to travel for all of their jobs 100% of the time. So,
So one thing that I recently discovered that was really exciting that I'm like, I don't know how I missed this, is Indeed does also have native automations built in. I don't know if you know that.
We started using them like a couple weeks ago.
Yeah. So you can even like, if you have in your job description, like I do, where it's like, okay, to complete this application, you need to fill out this form. Well, they're probably not reading that. So in order to still get a pool of applicants that they may still be a good fit, they just, didn't have time to read the whole thing. Obviously, we want people to read the whole thing, but again, it's not always feasible. So we have an automated email that goes out as well that says like, hey, in case you missed it, to complete your application, fill out this form. And that does get some more people in there.
Right.
Because if we think about the hiring funnel, right, we want to get as many people at the top of the funnel as possible, and then we can weed them out, from there.
Okay, we're almost done, but going back to life hacks, do you have any hacks that you would like to share that would make people's lives easier?
Yeah. So on iPhone, I recently shared this. iPhone has a like automations tool that's kind of hidden. It's in shortcuts. And I'm sure Android probably has the same thing, but I only have an iPhone. And this is just one example, I have a couple that I've done, but like we have to give our dogs medication certain times of the month.
Mm-hmm.
So like I have an automated text that goes out that reminds us, because the reminders for me, just how my brain works is I see the reminder and I go, okay, I'll do that later. And then a week goes by and I forgot to do it because it's gone. So I do like automated text reminders that are in there. You can do like, there's another cool one. Like if you save people's birthdays in your phone, you could do like an automated birthday text. I mean, there's like so many little things that you can do just to stay like on top of that.
The millions of things you have to do every single day.
I don't know what happened in my life and how I got to the point where I have like at any point 20 unread messages, like text messages. I don't know how that worked, but like I'll leave them. That's my process. I'll leave them unread until I can handle them. So that's
what I do.
Yeah. So I'm like, okay, it's unread. I'll handle it once it's done. I do the same thing for my business as well. Like I'll read the email and I'm like, okay, I'm
gonna mark it unread. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's just like a little like life automation that I've done.
That's awesome. I didn't even know that iPhone had that. So I'm going to have to look it up, because I definitely will look at text messages probably more than anything else that I look at right now. It's like the first thing I check. Well, thank you so much for being on our podcast again. We're so excited to see you again in the future too. And yeah.
Oh, thanks for having me.
Thanks, Jenny. Bye, everyone. So if you're interested in learning more about Jenny and about Dunzo, you can visit their website at godunzo.com and fill out their contact form. And you can also visit them on YouTube. She has some amazing video tutorials on how she set up some of those amazing automations. And so if you'd like to see more of this content, make sure to like and subscribe to this channel, hit the bell for notifications, and we'll see you next time.